I grew up absorbing the same Western narrative, the same lies they tell themselves. So when I see Westerners, defending this so-called civilization, I recognize the programming because I lived it. I broke free from it, and that's why I'm doing this work. I know what it feels like to believe in something that was designed to make you complicit in your own oppression. No, Western narratives aren't promoting global justice. They're the most sophisticated deception ever created. These people have perfected the art of deceitful language, saying exactly what they mean while make you think that they mean something else entirely. The reality is almost always the opposite of what they claim. The West have mastered and perfected the art of linguistic manipulation. They turned language itself into a weapon of perception control. Every political term operates on two levels: the dictionary definition that sounds noble, and the operational reality that serves established interests. Take democracy for example. Officially, it means public participation in governance. That's quite simple. But in practice, something only qualifies as democratic if it's controlled by the business class. And that business class also have to be aligned with Western interests. A popular government that threatens corporate interest, well, that's labeled authoritarian, regardless of how much public support it has. You can clearly see it with China. China has like a 97% approval rate, the so-called communist China political party, right? 97%. But according to the West, it's undemocratic, right? You spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week in a tiny dictatorship. Then they tell you that you live in a free society because you can choose between these two pre-selected candidates every 4 years. Your boss has more power over your daily life than any politician. But somehow, that's not part of the democracy conversation. You can't even bring the idea of democracy in the corporate world. Or try practicing free speech at the office. Try suggesting changes at your job. We should all get to vote on the CEO salary. See how far that gets you. And the same pattern repeats everywhere. Peace process doesn't mean working toward actual peace. It means whatever diplomatic initiatives the West happens to be pushing at the moment. These create a logical impossibility. By definition, the hegemons can never oppose peace because peace is whatever they're doing. See how that works? Humanitarian intervention, this is another one. It follows an identical logic. It's not about relieving human suffering. It's about military action that serves strategic interest while using the suffering of human beings, mostly innocent people, just as a justification. The language makes you focus on the stated intention rather than the predictable consequences. This is not wordplay. It's systematic inversion that exploits how your mind processes information. The cognitive dissonance between the word and the reality keeps you off balance, unable to clearly assess what's actually happening. Okay, well, just to put it in perspective, let's use their own definition. The West defines terrorism as the calculated use of violence or threat of violence to attain political goals through fear, intimidation, or coercion. Okay, well, calculated violence for political goal. Well, every drone strike, every bombing campaign, every intervention, threat for compliance. That's the economic sanction that starve entire population and then until the government submit. Fear as a policy. Have you heard of shock and awe? That's literally designed to terrorize. Apply their own criteria objectively. Who killed more civilians for political end? Who overthrown more governments? Who maintained global compliance through constant threat? By their own definition, America is the biggest and most heinous terrorist organization on the planet. But here's where the language inversion becomes grotesque. When they do it, it's called defense, intervention, or maintaining stability. When others use identical, and I mean identical tactics, On a smaller scale, mind you. It's called terrorism. The method is the same. The scale is often vastly different, but the linguistic framing inverts the moral evaluation completely. See, the brilliance lies in making the population complicit in their own deception through language that sounds reasonable on the surface. That's the power of controlling terminology. You get to exempt yourself from your own definition while using those same definition as weapons against others. And no, they're not targeting your logic, they're weaponizing your emotions. Western narratives come preloaded with emotional triggers that bypass rational thought entirely. The programming is so deep that you will defend action that you will condemn under different labels. Say humanitarian intervention, and and then you will feel compassion. But if you say carpet bombing for the same action, and you will feel horrified. Same reality, different emotional response. These create cognitive dissonance so intense that people choose the comfortable lie over the disturbing truth. They rather believe they're supporting freedom than face the reality of supporting oppression. And the emotional manipulation is systematic. Every narrative includes moral language that makes you feel virtuous for compliance. You're not supporting war. You're standing with democracy. You're not enabling exploitation. You're promoting development. See how it works? So instead of thinking critically, people retreat into this manufactured comfort zone where their country is always the hero. What the result of that is a population that's emotionally invested in their own deception, defending the very system that exploits them because questioning it feels like betraying their identity. Libya in 2011 was the perfect demonstration of how this narrative system works. They took the wealthiest country in Africa, free healthcare, free education, no homelessness, no debt, and turned it into a failed state with open slave market. And watch how they sold it to their own population. They said Gaddafi is killing his own people. Never mind that Libya has the highest human development index in Africa. Never mind that Gaddafi was planning to create an African currency backed by gold. Never mind that Libya was providing free water to half of the continent. They needed him gone, so they created a story about a humanitarian crisis using their NGOs and all these groups. They bombed the country back to the Stone Age. They destroyed Africa's most successful experiment in resource sharing. They turned a functioning society into a hellscape of chaos and slavery. And then they moved on. No accountability, no rebuilding, no apologies. Just on to the next humanitarian intervention. And universities aren't the center of learning. They're narrative control centers. They decide what question can be asked, what evidence counts as valid, what conclusions are acceptable. Okay? Try writing a PhD about Western war crimes, or try publishing research that challenge core Western narrative and see how far you get. The system filters out dangerous ideas before they reach the public. It produces those fake experts who sound credible because of their credential, but they only say acceptable things. That's why you see them on TV. It creates the illusion of intellectual debate while keeping all discussion within safe boundaries. Every Hollywood movie is a recruitment for your supremacy. Every TV show reinforces your moral framework. Every video game normalizes your violence. Watch any action movie. You are always the heroes. Your enemies are always evil. Your violence is always justified. Your military directly collaborate with Hollywood to make sure war looks heroic and necessary. Your entire entertainment industry doesn't just reflect the culture, it shapes it. It makes savagery seem normal, exploitation seem necessary, and world domination seems natural. I'm telling you, they perfected the art of breaking people's will to resist. Not using torture, but through comfort and confusion. They have weaponized guilt and shame to paralyze their critics, challenge their narrative, and you're called racist, extremist, conspiracy theorist. Question their intervention and you're accused of supporting dictators or hating freedom. Every major issue gets reduced to a false choice between supporting Western power or supporting something obviously worse. You either back American intervention or you love dictators. You either celebrate Western democracy or you hate freedom. Well, what kind of fucking logic is that? You're trapped in this binary thinking. Criticize Western action and you're automatically labeled as an enemy sympathizer. But the enemy of who exactly? The Taliban aren't my enemy. Vladimir Putin is not my enemy. But if you want to see their free speech principles in action, look at how they handle Palestine solidarity. Students and professors at the most prestigious universities on the planet getting body slammed and arrested by police force for protesting genocide. These are supposed to be the temples of free thought. Like you criminalize sympathy for victims while preaching human rights. You ban protest while claiming to defend the right to protest. You silence professors while teaching intellectual freedom. And this is deliberate. Treat activists like criminals and they become confused. I've watched some of these protesters, and this is really disturbing, on camera, saying they don't understand why their government acts this way. And I've said it many times on my previous video, like a lot of Westerners, they just don't understand their own conditions. You realize that the people telling you they're going to fix injustice are often the ones who created it in the first place. It's like asking the guy who robbed your house to design your security system. And that's the point. They break your ability to trust your own perception, make you question what you're seeing with your own eyes. The gap between your words and actions has become too obvious to ignore. You can't bomb people into freedom anymore without everyone seeing the contradiction. You can't steal our resources while claiming to promote development. Information moves too fast now. Videos of your crime spread instantly. Victims can speak directly to global audiences without going through these Western media filters. Alternatives' perspective reach millions before official narratives can establish themselves. The West is running out of new territories to exploit. The whole world has been colonized and divided. Now you're just competing for spheres of influence. Even your own population are rejecting the lies. My generation can't afford houses anymore, even if you are located in the richest society in history. Workers can survive on wages in the most productive economies ever created. The promises of Western democracy and capitalism aren't being delivered to Western people anymore. The American dream, this is really fascinating. It only lasted for like 20 years between 1950 and 1970. 20 years. And you had to be white to access it, okay? But that's beyond the point. 20 years of prosperity out of centuries of that empire. That's your track record. When the beneficiaries of your empire start questioning the system, you know you're in trouble. The machine is breaking down, and even the people it was supposed to serve are waking up. Your own citizens are becoming your biggest threat. No, China's development model actually works. That Iran resistance to Western domination is rational. Russia's challenge to Western hegemony serves global interests, whether you like it or not. No, your entire identity is built on a lie so massive that admitting it will shatter everything you think about yourself. Listen, I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to offer you a way out of the trap your ancestors built for you. You can continue defending narrative designed to make you complicit in ongoing crimes. You can keep believing that the people who perfected global exploitation are somehow going to deliver global justice. Recognizing how low your starting point actually isn't the end, it's the beginning. It's the first step toward becoming the humans you have the potential to be. Because you deserve to be a good person, you deserve to be worthy of living a decent life. But here's the thing, deep down, you know something is wrong. Your conscience rejects this performance. That's why they have to work so hard to maintain the illusion.